Dr. Robbins is a professor of biochemistry, molecular biology, and biophysics, and associate director of the Institute of the Biology of Aging and Metabolism at the University of Minnesota. He was part of a collaborative team that was the first to identify senotherapeutic compounds able to reduce the senescent cell burden and extend health span and lifespan in mouse models that are now in more than 15 clinical trials. And with that, let me start the interview. Hello, Dr. Robbins. You are Professor of Biochemistry, Molecular Biology, and Biophysics at the University of Minnesota. So welcome to Modern Healthspan. It's a pleasure to have you on our channel here today.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you. So, Professor Robbins, could you talk a little bit about yourself, a quick introduction, and some of the focus of your current work in your lab?
Yes. So I've been working on kind of the translational side of biology, trying to find approaches to cure or treat human diseases. And I started out targeting very specific diseases: cancer, muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis. And as I was working on these different diseases, I came to the realization that many of these diseases were linked, that there was a common cause, a common ideology behind them, and it was all linked to the aging process. So about 10, 15 years ago, I switched over and started work on aging, with the concept being that if you treated aging or slowed aging, that you could actually slow the progression of a variety of different diseases or even prevent their onset. So my lab now is focused on approaches to actually extend human health span. And the thought would be is that we can extend health span, we would delay or prevent onset of a variety of diseases, which I initially was working on as a younger faculty member, first at the University of Pittsburgh and then at the Scripps Research Institute.
Thinking about aging, so could you talk about what is your theory of aging in that? What is it mechanistically you think that is going wrong that drives aging?
Well, obviously, aging is a normal process. It happens to everyone and every organism, and it's kind of required by evolution. You can't live forever. So the way I view aging is that it's accumulation of damage that is caused by a variety of exogenous, so external and internal processes. And one of those processes, which we focus on because we think it is one of the key drivers, is actually damage to the genome. And so this can be induced by endogenous reactive oxygen species. These are ROS that the mitochondria makes. It could be UV light. It could be food you eat. It could be things you smoke. But it drives DNA damage, which leads to responses that the cell has to this types of stress. And that contributes to driving what are known as the hallmarks or pillars of aging, which are interconnected processes that seem to contribute to driving aging in the human body, but all organisms.
I read recently, I read a paper like somatic mutations rate scale with lifespan across mammals,
right.
which is kind of saying that we have, like, I guess, a set amount of damage that we can have, and lifespan is scaled by how well you repair it.
Right.
Does that sound, would that fit with the way you view it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that humans have evolved to repair their DNA more efficiently than organisms that live a much shorter time. Clearly, there's more to aging than just DNA damage. So we think this is a major cause, but obviously not the only cause of aging. So the question is, do mutations drive aging? And I think that's still somewhat unclear. So we think it's the response to damage. So what the cell does in response to the damage that contributes to aging. And the mutations may be kind of a consequence of just the overall damage. But is it really the mutations that are driving aging, or is the damage, which eventually leads to repair of DNA, that can lead to a mutation frequency? We think it's actually the damage and not the mutations per se, but that is debatable. And there are groups who think it's accumulation of mutations that drive the aging process. But we think it's actually the damage that, when repaired, could lead to mutations that's more the driving force behind aging.
Could you talk about the unitary theory of fundamental aging?
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of what made me a convert to start working on aging after working on human diseases. And the concept is that there are a number of processes that contribute to driving aging. So mitochondrial dysfunction, loss of stem cell function, DNA damage and senescence, effects on protein stability and folding, changes in the epigenetic regulation of your genome. But what this unified theory of aging, which is kind of a geroscience hypothesis, is that these processes are connected. So if you affect one of those, it affects the other hallmarks or pillars of aging. And so it allows for potential therapeutic intervention to slow the aging process, because you could pick one of these hallmarks and one of these pillars of aging, and by targeting it therapeutically, you can affect the others. So if you target chronic inflammation, it most likely will actually improve the function of your stem cells and improve the function of your mitochondria. If you improve functions of stem cells, it probably reduces inflammation, improves mitochondria, improves protein synthesis, protein folding, prevents protein aggregation. So all these processes are linked. And it means that aging itself should be targeted therapeutically, or we should be able to do that. You don't have to target all 9 or 13 or 4, whatever number of pillars or hallmarks you have. By targeting one, you can affect the others. And so I think it means that you really can slow aging.
Right.
And we've proven that in a variety of species, just not yet in humans. So that's the next step.
Is it because the different hallmarks communicate? So is there some kind of communication between them, or is it just an effect? I mean, it's just because senescent cells have SASP that they impact everything else.
So they're all interconnected. And so I study, so my pillar or hallmark of aging that I focus on, like Dr. Kirkland, I think Dr. Campisi has been on the show. We focus on cellular senescence, and we can talk about why many people are focusing on it and not others. But senescent cells release factors that are supposed to stimulate the immune system to come get rid of these damaged cells. And when we're young, this process happens very efficiently. So we have no real accumulation of these senescent cells. But as we age and our immune system starts to fail and we have more damage, we accumulate these cells, the percent of them increases. So it gets to a certain point where the immune system just can't cope with it. And so the inflammation that is caused by these cells drives a number of the other pillars. It affects metabolism, it affects mitochondria. Stem cells become senescent themselves, or they can be driven to become dysfunctional by senescent cells. So all of these processes are interconnected. So by eliminating senescent cells, which is where we're focused, we affect all the other hallmarks of aging.
Right. And would you see like senescent cells are perhaps special in being one of the most basic of the hallmarks?
I was going to say it's one of the simplest hallmarks, but it's actually very complicated too.
Yeah.
I think the advantage of senescent cells is that we are able to develop drugs that will kill them. And so it's something that we can target. So, targeting mitochondria dysfunction, you might be able to improve mitochondrial function, but it's kind of suppressing it. You're not getting rid of those bad mitochondria, you're just making them better by using antioxidants or other treatments. But senescence, in theory, is we can actually get rid of these damaged cells just like a healthy young immune system does. And then that will reduce inflammation, improve stem cell function, improve metabolism, alter the epigenome, et cetera.
Okay.
Now, clearly, clearing senescent cells alone is not going to make us live forever, but we think, like in mouse models, it should extend health span by years, if not decades.